Hi, it's Paul from Model Builder International. What we're going to talk about today, have a look at, is a kit from Modelcollect. It's the Baikal Air Defence Command Post in 1/72 scale. Okay, so let's have a look, see what we get in the box. First off, this is the only kit of this 54K6E Baikal Air Defence Command Post. The only kit in any scale whatsoever. So that makes it pretty unique, and it'll look different on the shelf. Nobody else, or very few other people will have this. So if we open it up, Modelcollect's usual sturdy box. These are the sturdiest boxes I've seen out there. So this is 1/72 scale. So what do we get in here? There is one bag with everything in it, bag of rubber road wheels, bag of clear parts, bag with a couple of small photo etch threads. There's a part there, decals, and the instructions. So let's have a look. See, this bag is resealable. And inside we have a couple of parts that come off, but one big sprue, a couple of identical sprues, another couple of identical sprues, the main chassis, and the cab. So that's the main parts. Essentially, it's the MAS prime mover with basically a cabin on the back. Okay, and the instructions. There's there's three paint charts, 18 steps, and a good book. So let's go through the steps in the book, and we'll pull up some images of detailed parts that are in each step. Don't forget, I'll put all the images you see in the video plus others will be on the website, so use the link in the chat below the video to see those. There'll be bit more information about the kit on the website as well, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, to start with, I'll put up some views of the sprues while I just talk about some general things about the kit. So you can see there's quite a few parts for a 1/72 kit. There's 224 plastic parts on 5 sprues, 9 clear parts, 2 small P frets, the wheels are rubber, and we get a small decal sheet as well. And we'll talk about the decal sheet later. But the level of detail on the parts is good throughout. You'll see a lot of that as we go through the video. The attachment points are generally pretty small out the way, and ejector pin marks are also out the way. Basically, you don't have to worry about them at all. So just looking at those bits looks okay. Let's go into a bit more detail, go through the steps, and have some close-up looks at the parts involved. So step 1 is basically putting the engine together, and as you can see here, there's some very nice details on the engine, and you also had a few bits of looks like the start of transmission. Moving down the page onto step 2 is more smaller engine parts and also more transmission parts. Over the page, step 3, basically all those little parts that we made, we're putting those into the main chassis. So we need to keep a close eye on those little parts and get them labelled right. So it should be fun lining all those pieces up, but should be okay. Moving down the page, step 4, as it says, attaching cross beams and suspensions. So notice here we're going to end up with 8 little sub-assemblies that look pretty similar, yet later on they are marked to go in certain places, so we'll have to sort of keep track of exactly which is which on this step. Okay, next page, and step 5 is putting the parts you carefully labelled in step 4 onto the chassis. And it looks to be reasonably straightforward, and just adding some shock absorbers. Move down a little to step 6, and it calls these attaching missile launch pillars, but they look just like fuel tanks to me, so guessing that's what they probably are. And down to step 7, and we attach, looks like both fuel tanks and some other small parts to the chassis. Over the page again, and step 8 is putting the hubs in the rubber wheels and mounting those onto the chassis. Although probably, to be honest, I'll probably save those bits till later so I can put some weathering on the wheels separately. Down a little bit, and we're putting the bed on the back of the truck. And then on to step 10, where we're putting the two main sides and the front and back. Just for once, the stuff going on the back of one of these trucks is pretty straightforward. It's basically a glorified box. And on the next page, we have step 11, putting the roof on and some doors on. A pretty simple, straightforward step. And if we move down to step 12, we're putting the doors on the right-hand side of the command post. So a pretty simple step, really, but just making a box on the back here. Over the page again, and step 13, and adding more pieces. These will go behind the cab, but in front of the command post. They look more like storage lockers. And down to step 14 is adding the mast, adding some aerials to it, and some photo etch on the top, which you'll have to bend slightly to get it into the right shape. And on the next page, with step 15, we start to put the cab together. There's some nice internal details, a couple of seats, a driver. Looks like there's some cylinders on the sidewall. And then come down to 16, and we're attaching doors and some clear parts onto the exterior of the cab. And now onto the last page of the actual build itself. Step 17 is putting, looks like a radiator grille and the cab onto the kit you've built so far. And then down, the final step, step 18, is just adding, looks like a guard on the bottom underneath the engine, and that's the kit built. And now we go on to decals and painting. As you can see, the colours are all called out in ammo colours. Looks like colour info and profiles were done by them as well. And you get 3 choices, basically an all green one, one with just 2 colours, and a 3 colour one, so it just depends how adventurous you're feeling as to which one you go for. The only decals are not pointed out as such on the instructions, but you can see everything you need to see on here. And as usual with Modelcollect's decal sheet, there's plenty of extras so you can mix and match numbers and do what you want pretty much. One of the good things about Modelcollect is these options. So basically, if you don't like one of the decal options you see, you can make your own up. There's extra number plates, an Arabic set, and there's 2 sets of numbers from 0 to 9. So overall, this is it's a nicely detailed 1/72 scale kit, a high part count for a 1/72 scale kit. Modelcollect do a series of vehicles based on this chassis, and this is probably the simplest of them all, with essentially what is basically a glorified box on the back of the vehicle. So it would be a good starting point. You get plenty of decal choices, so you can even make things up for yourself if you wish to. If you want to do an Arab vehicle in a completely different colour scheme, you've got the decals to go for it. So looks like it's a very good kit. Should go together well. Many thanks to Modelcollect for sending it along for us to have a look at. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe.